Thankfully, I didn't experience poverty in the way we speak about, but I had a loving family. They made sure I got to my leaving cert, but I certainly had my own challenges when I left school. I would have suffered with anxiety, panic attacks and stuff like that. I worked in the clothing industry for 15 years. I met my partner, my wife, who was probably the first person that believed in me in the clothing industry, Shamrock Apparel in Coolock. And I was at a point in my life where clothing industry was closing down, and she said to me, "Why don't you think about going back to college?" And I thought, I couldn't do that. And she said, "No, you could." And so I applied to DCU in '96. I was 32 years of age. And I got accepted in, and that was amazing because somebody else thought I had potential, and that came from an interview. And back then I wouldn't have been able to pick up the phone to make a phone call to somebody in the clothing industry without having to write down what I needed to say. I was that anxious about it. But today I'm leading an organisation that I'm extremely proud to lead, and that also informs our practice, and it also tells me why we wanted to be involved with this project. So there are life journeys. Everybody in this room has a life journey and has had challenges to overcome. So I just wanted to try and, that was a segue maybe from John, before I get into the practicalities. But just a quick overview. I'll give you a quick overview about Northside Partnership, because we as an organisation ourselves are on a journey. Why we took part, how we approached the pilot, and how we wish to support the project going forward, and some of my own thoughts and some of the thoughts about our own staff for the next stages. Many of you know Northside Partnership. I'm in the helm 4 years. Marion Vickers would have been the previous CEO, but Northside Partnership has a long history of working with the communities in the Dublin North East area, addressing poverty, inequality, social exclusion. But not only that, it's a long history of and track record of innovation. Would have been one of the first partnerships involved in the TOOS programme. We have a flagship project called Preparing for Life that's recognised globally in terms of the work that it's doing with family mentoring, and that's an incredible piece of work because we have coaches, family coaches that go in and work with parents from pre-birth to the age of 5 to try and help children be better prepared for school. And some of the outcomes from the evaluation of that, which was a call it randomised control trial, have shown phenomenal outcomes in that young children that are getting that level of support, their IQ has increased by 10 points, their language skills have increased, their physical health outcomes have been incredible. But one of the things we're also doing as an organisation, we're on a journey at becoming what we're calling an advantage thinking organisation. We're one of 3 organisations globally that are on this. And part of that is, I'm acutely aware I'm from the north side, and every time I walk up Grafton Street I still feel that. I do. And when I was in DCU last year, I was listening to a young person at our Challenger graduation speak about the fact that she was from a disadvantaged community at our Challenger graduation. It was her first time in the university, but she was carrying the badge of disadvantage because we've labelled the community disadvantaged. And yet she has incredible skills, talents, gifts, beliefs, and we need to work with her to bring them forward. But she doesn't need to carry that label of disadvantage. So advantage thinking is about working with individuals, as John said, finding their skills, their talents, their gifts, their abilities, working with them on their passions, and then finding what they want to do with their lives and brokering opportunities for them. And it is about opportunities to develop those skills, talents and capacities, and to develop as individuals, be that in family, community or in the world of work. So we're very much focusing on capabilities. So for us, being involved in the distance travel journey was an obvious choice in terms of, as a pilot, in terms of our commitment to continuous improvement, quality assurance, but also in terms of understanding better and how we can capture better that journey that people are on. So one of the things I think, I have it down here as guiding purposeful conversations. The power of conversations is incredible. It was conversations that led me to university. It was conversations that led me to opportunities and jobs. But not everybody has the same opportunity to have those meaningful and quality conversations that make change in life. And I'm acutely aware that our staff as frontline people may often be the only person that they're having a conversation with in their world that will see potential in them that others may not. And so we are always tuned to how we can enhance that opportunity for meaningful conversations. And there's other things that we're doing in the organisation to do that. But another key thing that the distance travel tool will do for us is help reveal that participant story and experience, help us to understand it better. Because I'm not sure, I would now consider myself to be middle class and distant from, like at the moment we're having a lot of challenges in our community around the impact of gun violence and drug crime. And the young people that are being drawn into that world don't live in the same world I live in. But I need to understand their world to be able to offer them opportunities. And so tools like the distance travel tool may help us understand that space a bit better, the participant's journey. But it's also really important in thinking helping participants see the progress they've made. Because I think as human beings, we're not necessarily good at remembering what we've done that's positive. And I'll use a simple analogy. I'm 28 years with my wife, Roberta. For those 28 years, every time she's got her hair done, I've admired her hair and said, your hair looks beautiful. Once I made a comment, and that's the only thing that's been remembered. So it's not natural to us. I don't know if it's an evolutionary thing or whatever, but we tend to focus on the negative and not the positive. So the distance travel tool can be a really powerful tool in helping people see the progress they've made. And we know there may be setbacks, but they need to take them in context or whatever. And another piece I think is critically important, and certainly since I've come to this job, is how do we elucidate the experience to help close what I would call the cultural gap, right? I hope I'm talking to a converted audience here, but not every department that I've met in my last 4 years or previously when I was working with the Northside Partnership understands the challenges that the people we're working with face. If you've grown up in a world where college is expected for you, you have a world of privilege maybe, modest privilege or whatever, sort of lacking self-esteem, lacking self-confidence, it's not something you would even consider. You have a sense of entitlement. And for many people that are in leadership roles within departments or private sector organisations, the capability to understand or to empathise is not necessarily there. So part of their challenge is trying to elucidate the experience of people that we're working with to close that cultural gap, to see, no, the distance people have to travel sometimes is profound. It is literally a job of building a new brain, and that is the bit that takes time. You have to build a new brain. So in terms of us coming on board with the distance travel tool, like culture is a big part of our organisation in terms of our openness to change and stuff like that. But it struck me we need to look at this as a change management process. Now, many of you here will have experienced a change, so we're probably speaking to the convert again in that regard. But how we came about it was we looked within our own organisation and thought, well, who are the natural innovators and the early adopters within our own organisation that are most open to this process of, coming on board for the pilot and to take a risk in piloting it. Because remember, change is risk. And when people feel risk, they feel vulnerable. So your organisation needs to be supportive of people being vulnerable when they're taking a risk and be encouraging and supporting. So we identified a couple of people, 3 people within the team, and Angela, who's the team lead, is here somewhere. Angela, where are you? No? Sorry, Angela's over there. Angela came on board as our team lead because in supporting a small team, we wanted to have somebody there that would be the liaison person with Pubble and would link in and support that team at every stage of the rollout of the pilot. And there were a couple of things we wanted to do around that, and one was develop a small community of practice in-house so people could feel safe to, bring up challenges, bring up questions, and feel supported in doing that. But another thing that we've been doing in the organisation, we've been developing a coaching and mentoring culture, which is about levering the combined knowledge and experience of the staff in our organisation and helping them to help each other, because there's huge capabilities within your own organisation if people just have purposeful conversations. So every staff member in our organisation has had primary training in coaching, and then we've a couple of key staff in the organisation who are fully qualified coaches, and they support staff as well. So that was really about developing a community practice within our own organisation, so that staff may have had questions about the role that the pilot could go, tease them out, get some support on that, and lead off on it. That's what we did. What we want to do going forward, I suppose, we know we initially had the early adopters and the innovators within the team, and again, they're people that would have maybe be leading beyond authority themselves, that they're staff that are willing to step out of their comfort zone and trying something like this. So in the next stages, we want to broaden the rollout of the project this year. So there will be, we'll look at broadening that staff out to the next, the staff that are, again, not so much early adopters, but people that are open to the idea once they see that there's a full suite of supports for them there, and that they know they're safe in being vulnerable if they need those supports. So that's about building the in-house capability to support staff. But the other thing we need to do to support those staff in the wider rollout as well is gather our own evidence and experience, or the star stories, our local champions in-house, that will help spread the good news and will again be there to support staff. Because many staff will have conversations with peers before they'll have conversations with management about some of the challenges, and it's where they get it. If they're getting support from their peers, we've a much greater opportunity for uptake. And then for us to feed that experience back into the distance travel tool steering group. But one of the things, I don't know if anybody has ever seen this, the implementation drivers triangle. It's from the implementation network in the USA, but it's critically important in terms of getting any innovation across a line, and in terms of being true to the innovation that you're trying to implement or whatever. And we're on the left and right, can't figure it out. We're on the left-hand side there in our own organisation, coaching, training, selection, supporting our staff. There is a body of work for the Distance Travel Tool Steering Group on the other side in terms of the systems, the interventions, facilitating administration. But for the Distance Travel Tool and our experience to get over the line fully and for people to take it up, it is going to need those supports on both sides. And then just finally some thoughts on the next stages. Within our own organisation, because of our commitment to continuous improvement, we're looking at implementing in every program that we do this concept of test, learn, adapt, where we bring stuff back, we tweak it, what's worked, what needs to be addressed, whatever. I do think we have to be open to that in the distance travel tool, because it's an iterative process, like life. All things can be made better. We will learn from this experience, we will build on it, we will go from there. We do need to build the organisational drivers, and that's something that we need to do at the next stage of the steering group. And that's about moving the system from being a paper-based system to being some sort of system that will allow us to collate the experience of people and to aggregate that up so we can present it in bulk to funders and to organisations, so we can really see, yes, this is showing the distance that people are travelling, and will help us reveal the participant's journey. And because I think if there's one thing that we can do, that we really must do, that is helping others understand the distance that people are travelling. Unfortunately, I can't stick around for the presentation of a board meeting, for the workshop, because of a board meeting shortly after this. But my colleague Angela will be here today, and if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Is that okay?